I'm going to do it. I don't want to. I'm going to do it. You'll go. Hey YouTube land, welcome. VisDis Gaming here. I'll be your host, John. Today kicks off with our first PSVR title review. We're going to be looking at probably one of the most unusual games I've come across. So today's going to be Bullet Roulette VR. So right before we get into this review, let's just break down exactly how we're going to do the reviews on the PSVR channel. So I'm going to be looking at 10 categories, all from 0 to 10, 0 being the worst and don't bother, 10 being absolutely amazing, take my money. So the 10 categories are going to be graphics, sound, innovation, immersion. We're going to be looking at fun factor, longevity, accessibility, tracking, ease of control, and value for money. And then hopefully we should get a score out of 100, and we'll see if it's worth spending your money or giving it a pass. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So Bullet Roulette VR, new to the PlayStation Store, January the 21st, 2021. The maker is Fibro. I believe they make quite a few other games, predominantly I think for the Oculus, but this is ported over to the PlayStation now. Their blurb on it, let's have a look. So, 4 suspicious persons with a mysterious past are sitting around a table in a gloomy dark bar playing Russian roulette. Beware of other players because they don't look like somebody who plays fair, be tricky and become the last survivor. Bullet Roulette is a casual game for 1 to 4 players. Before you shoot, you should draw 2 cards. There's a bit of a change there. I think this may have been drawn up before the game was actually finished. So you actually get 3 cards now. You don't draw them, you give them at random. That you can complete and change the rules of the game. If the player survives, he will get a coin, which he can be used to shoot another player on their next turn. If he kills another player, he takes his money. An unsuccessful attempt to shoot the player takes all of the money. Be tricky enough to become the last survivor. So that's what they're saying on the game. It was on offer when I got it, so here in the UK I paid £7.39. I believe it's $8.99 and euros $8.99 as well. So on offer at the moment. Not sure what the RRP is on that, but we'll have to wait and see. So let's get straight in with the graphics. So the game's actually set in 2 locations, 2 quite poorly lit bars. Within the bars you can kind of make out an actual physical bar. There's a piano player and maybe a waiter or waitress sort of wandering around, and that's about it. There's not much other sort of, they're so sort of dingy, you can't make out a lot in there. You've got a couple of different tables, both sort of representing like poker tables. One's quite clean and crisp and the other one's quite heavily stained, if I can say that. The characters, I've only come across 4 characters so far in the game. I'm not sure if there's any more, but there has been quite an effort to detail with the characters. They are really, really well done. Can't really fault the quality of the characters in there, and the level of detail and the revolver that you get is really good as well. There's no cheating. You can't sort of peek into the chamber and see if you can spot where a bullet is. That doesn't work at all. But yeah, you know, I probably would have liked to have seen more sort of locations. I think for that, maybe I'm going to give the graphics a 7. It probably would have gone up a bit more if there was just a little bit more in the game, maybe. But it's a strong 7 from me. Okay, moving on to the sound then. So predominantly you're just going to hear in the background an old-timey sort of piano playing in the background. Tends to be, I think, 1, maybe 2 songs. They kind of blend together, to be fair. So, you know, it is what it is, I suppose. You've got a piano playing in the background. That's all you've got. It's a reasonable sound of the piano, I suppose. I think there's an overbearing sort of creak of a chair as well. That seems to get a bit annoying after a while, if I'm honest with you. And one of the good features of the sound, I suppose, is that when you're actually raising the gun to your head, you know, it starts to boom, 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 boom. It builds the tension, so that's quite a nice feature. I did notice that and thought that was quite a good sort of addition to it. The sound from the revolver is absolutely fine. I've got to say, after a while, the song on the piano becomes quite annoying, and it probably would have been more interesting if they'd have got maybe some more ambient sounds in there. Maybe a couple of different songs even. It would have just sort of added something to the game, maybe. And for that, I'm going to give it a 6. Innovation here, so let's Let's talk innovation. There's absolutely nothing on the market around like this. I mean, I've never seen a Russian roulette game on console. If I'm wrong, drop it in the comments and let me know. To be straight. But hats off to Vibram. Whoever came up with this was pure genius. And the added twist as well of throwing some strategy cards in there as well, just to sort of extend the game and add a new layer to it. Absolute genius. You can't fault them, and I think for that I'm going to give it a strong 8. Okay, so let's talk immersion then. So, if you've got the desire to win and you're quite competitive, there's definitely some immersion to be had in this game. The tension definitely builds. I mean, even after a couple of hours worth of play, you can still have that desire to win. And when you're bringing that revolver to your head and you don't know if the gun's going to go off or not, definitely there's some immersion. It's going thud 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 in your ears, and even after playing it for a number of hours, if that gun goes off, it can still be quite a surprise. Maybe to increase the immersion, they probably could have added, as I said earlier, maybe a couple of different locations, some more tables, definitely some ambient sounds, because just the piano playing and the chair creaking in the background doesn't really add much to it. I think the sounds could have been a bit better, if I'm honest. Okay, so fun factor. I suppose that's why we're all here. If the game's not fun, you're not going to be playing it. Overall, there's quite a bit of fun to be had with this game because it's so unique, and it's a game of chance, isn't it? Let's be honest. If you go in against 3 other NPC characters, yeah, it is fun. But you can increase that fun tenfold if you go online and play with others, or you can get a friend in. There isn't a chat feature, so you can't chat to the other 3 players online, unfortunately. And I do totally get why they've done this, because it is open to abuse. I'm from the early days of the Call of Duty lobby, so I do 100% get why they haven't done that. Maybe some emotes you could use, or some sort of pre-delivered statements, or some way of communicating with the other 3 would probably increase the fun of it. Of course, if you've got your friend on the chat party, you're going to be howling all night. It is a lot of fun. Okay, so let's talk longevity. Bang for buck. How often are you going to be playing this game? Okay, right off the bat then. So, in Vibram's defence, they do advertise this game as a casual game, and I have to agree with them. It is casual. It's not something you're going to be playing all of the time. I think for me now, after playing it a number of times, after about an hour, I kind of lose the immersion, and you stop caring if you win or lose. If you've got friends in there, obviously the party can keep going. It is what you make of it. I think maybe some things that could have been added to the game to improve how often you play it. Whenever you win or lose a game, nothing is carried over. Every game starts afresh. So if you had the ability to sort of keep some of your money, maybe a ranking system for wins and losses. If you could use your money to buy extra things like drinks for yourself on the table or other people, or you could buy collectibles or things you could play with on the table. You've got the smoking paraphernalia and things, but that's about it. So things do get a bit sort of boring after a while. Maybe you could use some money to buy some one-time special sort of tactical cards as well. Just thoughts really, but this I think probably would have added a bit more to the game. I suppose it's how far Vibram wants to take it. So for me, longevity, I'm going to mark it a 4. Okay, let's go on to accessibility then, and this is probably the reason most of you are here. From the outset, the menus are quite punchy, the text is large, there's contrasting colours. Within the game, the table's quite bright, you can see all of the characters, they stand out quite well. The game itself is quite a dark game, and I do get why they've done that with the ambience of the whole game, but everything is quite easy to see. The gun's quite easy to see. When other people put their cards down, you can't necessarily see the text on the cards, but you have a graphic come up on the screen so it shows you. Your own cards are quite well sort of displayed. You've got quite large text on there as well. I've got to be honest with you, this is probably one of the most accessible games I've ever played, and for that I'm going to give it a strong 9. Okay, let's get into tracking then. So game requires PlayStation Move controllers and PlayStation camera. If I'm honest, the game does suffer from a bit of a tracking issue. 60% of the time I found that there's absolutely no issue. It's very crisp, it's very responsive. You can go into other games, and this is without moving your position or the camera or anything, and you'll struggle to pick up the gun, you'll fumble to pick up the cards, sometimes you can't get the cigar or the other smoking materials into your mouth. Probably not a bad thing, but it does kind of ruin the game a bit when you sort of have to faff around, and it takes you a little bit out of that immersion, I suppose. So I think this could probably be improved. At first I thought maybe it was the setup and, you know, tracking issues. But I realised I really hadn't changed anything, so it's going down to the game. For this, it's going to get a 6. Okay, ease of controlling. So to be fair with this game, there's not a lot to it. So the initial menus, you're pointing a bit of a laser out of your Move controller at what option you want. They're all clearly marked. It's all very responsive. I think the thing that took me a little while to get used to is that the thumb button on the Move controller is the one you'll use to actually pick up something, so you have to depress that. And then the trigger button will just act as you think it would do. So it takes a short while to kind of get into that concept, but it works well. I can't say that there's any problems at all with ease of control. I think just because it took me a small while to get maybe used to using the thumb button for picking things up, I'm going to give this an 8. Okay, value for money then. I think it's probably fair to discuss with you probably 3 serious glitches with the game that I've not yet mentioned that kind of make the game feel broken, and it's such a shame. First of all, when you're playing, the gun can disappear completely off the table. There's no way of getting it back, and the game will just hang there for an inordinate amount of time with nothing to do until eventually everybody all gets a gun to shoot the player whose turn it was for it to time out because they didn't do anything, because they couldn't get the gun. The second one is that you can come to load the gun and the bullet is just bouncing up and down on the table. This isn't a tracking issue, this is a glitch problem. There's no way out of this. You can't resolve it, there's no timeout, and you have to end the game, which is a shame because if you're in a multiplayer game with a lobby with people you're actually enjoying the game with, there's no guarantee that you're going to get back in there. And the third one, and this is probably the most infuriating, is that you can be in an online lobby with maybe 2 other multiplayer characters and you've got an NPC in the room. What will happen is that when you have another online player join the game, instead of the game giving the seat to the online player from the NPC, it can sometimes spawn them into one of your other characters' seats. So you've got 2 characters glitching into each other, which is really weird, especially if you're the one looking into somebody else's character. And even more infuriating is that sometimes they can take control of your game as well. So at this point, the game definitely feels broke. And I'm amazed that Firebrum actually released this the way it is. This isn't a one-off occurrence. I've played this game over a number of hours, over a number of evenings, and one, if not all 3 of these happen on a regular basis. And there's just no need for it. This should have been fixed on release. I think if you can get over the fact that they've got these glitches in this game, and let's live in hope that they can fix them, because they should fix them. It's such a good game. I couldn't probably give this more than a 4 for value for money. I just couldn't. It needs fixing. If you're affected by these glitches yourself, drop me a comment, let me know I'm not the only one, or if they fixed them and patched it, let me know. I would love to come and revisit this game and give it such a better score for value for money. So taking everything into consideration, I'm going to give this game a 66 out of 100. Let me know in the comments if there's any other games you'd like me to review. Be seeing you, or maybe not.